All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Monday, September 29th of 2025. Looking ahead here, we have two-game NFL Classic slate on this Monday with some individual showdowns as well. So it should be a fun day of DFS, all things considered. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. Get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there's a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim team. Just can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then we do this show on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So tune in any one of those days, get your questions answered. All right. With that said, let's get SaberSim pulled up on the screen here, and we will jump into questions. Had a number of questions come in prior to the show, so we will start there. We got Showdown pulled up. Why don't we go over to Two Gamer? All right. First question of the day. Hey, Andrew, question for NFL Showdown. How can you show me how to force a captain from the 5 side of my 5-1 stacks? Good question. We can definitely do this. So we will hop back to Showdown. So how to force. Okay. So I think the way I would do this would be a little bit backwards. So what I would say was that if at least one team captain, I would check all the positions, then use at least one on the same team. Okay. So by doing this, what I'm saying is that, hey, if I'm going to have a captain from a team, I must play at least one other player on that same player's team. Now, by doing this, what you are avoiding is a situation where you are playing a captain and 5 players from the other team. So this rule avoids a 5-1 where the captain is the 1, which means that all you are left with is a situation where you have 5-1s and the captain is from the 5. So we're not writing a rule to get what you want. We're writing a rule to avoid what you don't want, which ends up getting us to the same destination. So I just realized that the question and my face are in the way here. So what I would do is write a rule like this. If at least one group by team, check all the positions, select captain for position, then use at least one on the same team, position flex, select all the positions. This will get you what you are looking for. All right. Good one there to get us started. Had to think about it for a second. Next question. How would you personally rank these strategies in order? Interesting question. All right. Number 1, if you have no takes on the slate, just running the sims with no modifications and uploading as is. 2, slight modifications to exposures or stacks as you see fit. 3, no modifications to exposures, but using projection and ownership percent filters to reduce your player pool. Thank you. Okay. Interesting question. So I want to say that I don't think any of these are a bad option. All right, I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm still going to rank them, but I want to say I don't think these are bad. All right. Now, what I would probably do is rank, and this is like my own personal ranking. Other people on the team might have different rankings. I would say number 3 first. I think number 3 is like one of my favorite. The reason I think number 3 is really good is because you're going to see in flashback that projection floor matters. And you're going to see in flashback that ownership varies, right, from projections. So by using some combination of projection and ownership filters, you're protecting your projection floor and you're protecting yourself from ownership coming in different, right? Okay, actually, hold on. I actually think I might have misread this, so I'm not sure. So this one says to reduce your player pool. Now, I don't think you need to reduce your player pool based on projection and ownership. I thought this was like projection and ownership filters post build, right? I thought it's like lineup pool. I'm rereading it, saying I don't think you need to use projection and ownership filters to reduce your player pool to get a good player pool. Then I will say that gosh, this one's hard. So number 2, I'm going to rank second because it says slight modifications to exposures or stacks as you see fit. What I question is whether or not the person making those changes, what is their reasoning for as you see fit? And is their reasoning stronger than what SaberSim can provide you and left to your own devices? So I think number 2 could be ahead of number 1. Sorry, stream's buffering a little bit. If you have a track record of like making good exposure adjustments, right? And if you are doing that regularly, I'd probably be grading yourself. Like, hey, when I boost guys, are they coming in above their projection, below their projection? At what rate is this happening? Are they coming in ahead over 60%, over 70%? Like, how often am I right? You know, if you're like, hey, I've been tracking this and I'm right like 70% of the time, cool. Like, that's a really good process. I'd do that one over number 1, right? It's just going to depend how accurate you are, right? When you're highly accurate, it's okay to do. It's even a good thing, in my opinion, right? If you're break even, if your guys are coming in low more than, less than like 50% of the time, it's probably not good. And number 1 would actually be better for you, right? If you weren't making those adjustments, you know, and you were just taking what the Sims gave you, then yeah, you know, that would actually be a net improvement from the spot that you're in, right? So the more I think about this, for sure, number 3 is last. Number 1 is the best. Number 2 is second. Number 2 has the potential to be better than number 1. So that's what I would say is my order here, but happy to elaborate further. All right, next question. When it's a small slate, the 2-gamer like tonight, for example, does it make sense for correlation setting to be lessened because it becomes closer to a showdown type build, or do we take the sim setting at its as it's set by SaberSim because SaberSim has it set that way specifically? Good question. So if we were looking at like yesterday's slate, right? Main slate, 12 games or something like that. I don't know. sliders are usually around like 6, 7, right? 6 correlation, 7 sim diversity. When we go into today's 2-gamer, correlation is at 2, sim diversity is at 9, right? So what we're doing here is exactly what you're describing of. We are moving closer to showdown type slider settings where we are hunting for the optimal lineup. So when I open this up, right, my correlation and sim diversity are going to kind of tell me about the slate and the sport type, right? Let's say you never played NHL before. You know, NHL is around the corner. You're thinking about playing it, right? You open it up for the first time. You see correlation's really high. That should tell you that, hey, stacking is important. Playing players from the same team is important. Maybe say sim diversity is low. Good average projections are strong here, and I should be comfortable using those, right? And then let's say you open up, you know, NFL Showdown for the first time. You see 0-10. You know, the sliders are telling you, hey, you know, we don't need to amplify correlations to get stacks. And basically, anytime you're using sim diversity 10, the builder's basically telling you, like, hey, you're hunting for the optimal lineup here, and we're trying to find it. So what 2-9 tell me, right, is like, hey, stacking and correlation are still a factor. We don't need huge stacks here, right? We need some stacks. And we don't need an optimal lineup, but you're going to need a lot of pieces of the optimal, right? Sim diversity 9, we are as close as you can get, you know, to single game sims here. So this just tells me, like, hey, we might not need the actual true optimal, but you're going to need very, very close to it, right? You're going to need, I don't know, there's 9 players in the lineup, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 players in the lineup. Might need 6 pieces, might need 7. You know, it can be really, really close. So that's what I would think here is likely to be needed based on what the sliders are telling me, history with 2-game slates, stuff like that. But either way, I would leave it where it is. I think the sliders are good. Remember, you know, we do back test these and put them where we think they are the best, right? If we thought 4-9 was better, we would put 4 for you. You know, we want you to have the best sliders without any manual intervention needed. All right, Andrew, what is the impact of late swapping in MLB with live projection data? Yeah, you know, I think it's valuable. You know, I think it's really, really valuable. You know, you're going to see batter average projections somewhere between, I don't know, 7 to 12. You know, you're playing on like DK, right? It's like captures most batters. You know, maybe there's like 20% of batters not captured there, but you know, what happens when somebody hits a home run in the first inning? You know, Vlad Jr. comes up, hits a home run. He has 14 points. You know, he already passed his projection. Dude has 3, 4 more at-bats for this game. Like, what is his new true projection? How does that impact lineups and standings? What is his ownership? What are Toronto stack ownerships? You know, were there runners on? Did other players score? Did George Springer walk, steal a base, and then Vlad hit a 2-run home run? You know, all of that, like, is really, really impactful in my opinion. So I think live projections with MLB are awesome. I think they are a huge value add. So if you can, you know, I would take advantage of them because I think that they're great, even going into the playoffs here. All right. Next question. Samuel, can you go over the satellite template again? I think mine stopped working and I may have to delete a requirement I deleted a requirement by mistake. Yeah, for sure. So there's a couple different ways you could do the satellite template, right? I'm just going to rename it sats. So create a lineup group we generally recommend putting all of your satellites in one group, right? So change each to all. A couple different ways you could do this. You could do type, right? Type is satellite. Sometimes there are going to be satellites that, how do I say this? So like we go over the contest tab, right? It might be better to just show it. So we do not have every single contest in the DK lobby. We have a lot of contests, but we don't have them all. So like for instance, right, we have a qualifier here that's listed as a satellite. Okay, well that would get captured, right? We have a couple other satellites, 4K millis, mid-season main event, right? All these different like satellite type events. So these would all get captured here, right? But what if you're playing, a $20 milli maker ticket satellite, right? We don't have every satellite. So that contest type would come across as custom and it wouldn't come across as satellite. The problem is that there are also GPPs that we don't have that are custom as well. So just using like, okay, type is custom or type is satellite wouldn't really work, right? Or I'm sorry, type is satellite or type is custom, because you might get some wrong contests in here, right? So what I would probably recommend is something where like type is satellite or percent to first is 100. This should get both, right? Even if it's custom, it's still going to have 100% to first. And then, or it's a satellite, right? You're going to get both. You could go further, right? You could go, or, name maybe includes winner. And maybe it's like a winner take all, right? So, okay, I'm trying to just make sure I get all of these different ones kind of together, right? So it's the satellite, the percent to first is 100, can get the customs, it's like winner take all. The percent to first might get all of them, but at least I'm like covering my bases with like a bunch of different options here. So I would write something like this. I think it should get you most of everything that you're looking for here. So give this one a shot. All right. HC said, hi, Andrew. When you click on the My Own Gear, what does add weighted average mean and do with the contest? Good question. So weighted average allows you to either take uploaded ownership sources, like say I have like an ownership source with like a 1, right? I just upload a custom ownership. I name it 1. I can go to add weighted average and I can assign weights to different buckets, right? It'll basically show me all of the ownerships that I have. It doesn't look like I actually have one here for this one. But let's say that, I upload an ownership and I want to combine it with Saber Sims, right? Okay. Well, let's say that I want to use the flagship MME bucket. All right. So I set all these other ones to 0. And for the sake of example, we'll say the flagship 20 max is like a custom one, right? Okay. Well, then I want to set flagship MME to 50%. And then I want to set my custom one to 50% as well. And I want to weight these equally. If you care more about one than the other, right? Okay, maybe I 75-25 it. The weighted average allows you to average more than one set and determine how much weight you apply to each bucket, right? If you just uploaded an ownership and clicked average, it would take all of these Saber buckets plus yours, give them an equal weight, and average it that way. It's going to do all available options. Weighted average allows you to just be more specific with how you divide up the ownership. Samuel said, thanks. Weird, mine does not show is like yours, instead equals, less than, or greater than. Shall I rewrite it? It's going to depend on the requirement you're using. So like, for instance, when I say type, I get is. When I say entrance, I get equals, less than, greater than. So whatever this first box is will determine what comes next in this operator box, which is like what it says that it is here. So that's the biggest thing there, in my opinion. So that should solve that one. All right. HC said, thanks. You're welcome. Cool. So we're caught up with questions here at the moment. Good opportunity to kind of talk about the slate tonight. So I was actually talking to somebody in support about this. In case you guys, that was after and or just follow up. Okay. Type is, and then add type. Yeah. So like if I click and, right, it's like I have type is not, and then I say and type is not, or I could say like my entries, and then it changes, right? So, or I could say name, includes, does not include. So each one of these has like a different, generates different options here in the operator section. So that's the big thing there. So just talking about the slate tonight, I was talking to some people in support about it. It can be really good to go back and like study similar slates, right? So like, for instance, there was a 2-game Monday night slate 2 weeks ago in week 2. So we go back here, right? Monday. I think it was like the Bucks were on this one. Yeah, Bucks, Houston, Chargers, Vegas. And like less about, decisions and like winners, but like what lineups like rated out really well here, right? So, okay, let's say we go to the flagship and we go to users. As soon as this loads. And like one thing, right, the reason this came up is because somebody was asking about, hey, does duplication matter on like 2-game slates? It's like, that's a great question. I don't know. Let's go find out though, right? We can use SaberSim to figure it out. Okay, so we come in here. So it looks like it does matter, right? First of all, because this top lineup that won was duped 55 times. So that, it's obviously a lot of duplication, right? So right off the bat, I'm going to say, well, yeah, the winning lineup was duped 5 times or 55 times. That's a big deal. This hasn't fully finished loading yet, but some other things I'm saying, right? Hey, it was a max salary lineup. Okay, maybe we cut max down. Maybe we go 49.9. Maybe we go 49.8. Maybe that can help us. All right, cool. Looks like everything loaded in. Maybe I want to go and look at the, best 150 max lineups and see how they did. Okay, well, these dupes look very similar to Showdown, 3, 13, 11. Like, we see 49. There is a number of high dupes here, right? So that's one consideration is duplication rates. Average salaries, kind of interesting because we see some users with lower averages, right? 47.5, 47.1 have lower average dupes. We see users with higher average salaries have higher dupes. 48.6 has 13. 49.4 has 11. 49.1 has 11. 49.4 has 49. Maybe there's, correlation here between salary and the dupes, right? I think that matters. And then, we could go further. Like, hey, how did these players get these high sim ROIs? Okay, we filter for them. And then we go and look and like, hey, how did they handle, some of the chalkier plays? Okay, they were under on Irving. Where did they take stance? What were their biggest leverages, right? Hey, they got really over the field on Nick Chubbs. They correlated him with Texans D and his quarterback. That's interesting. They played a lot of Houston here, right? 5 of their top 7 exposures are Houston. Hey, was there some correlation thing between Keenan Allen and Jacoby Myers, right? With like a secondary stack type of situation. Hey, they targeted, secondary stacks from one game and then, hammered like one side of the other, right? That's kind of what I'm seeing. It's like a lot of Houston played, some position players from like the Chargers, but we don't really see Herbert here, right? We see Allen, we see Hampton, we see Disley, we see Conklin, we see Najee. Those are some of like their leverage plays, right? Some of the spots where they were higher on the field compared to the ownerships, right? So I'm just like looking at some of their leverage. They got about even here with like ownership projections on Herbert, but the spots where they were taking their stands, right? Like, yeah, okay, they have the same Herbert Stroud exposure, but Stroud was obviously way less owned, right? Like you can learn things here. So studying 2 gamers, going back, looking at, top players that, things like that can be really helpful. Hey, maybe I want to go and study some other names I know. Okay. Go through a couple players, right? See how different players approached it. And then slowly you'll create your own process, right? Through all of those different things that you learn. So that's what I would be doing ahead of the 2 gamer to get some ideas. I think this Duplication stuff, really, really important. I think the salary stuff's really interesting, right? People leaving a lot of salary on the table. So all that can really help. But those are my thoughts on the two-gamer, things that you can do to help yourself get better and hopefully improve your results. But I think we're all caught up here with questions, both Discord, YouTube chats. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern for our next show. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.